What if I told you that one of Africa's smallest countries with almost no natural resources is being studied by world leaders as a model for development? Now, I want to ask, how did a country that experienced one of the worst genocides in modern history become one of the safest, cleanest, and fast developing in Africa in just a few decades? Today, we look at the policies, leadership choices, and controversial decisions that have made Rwanda stand out from many other African countries. The Rwandan story is one of the most remarkable transformations in modern history. See, in 1994, Rwanda experienced a genocide that claimed over 800,000 people in just 100 days. So this basically meant that infrastructure was destroyed, trust was broken amongst the citizens, and how they bounced back will surprise you, because when we look at most of the countries that have gone through the same, it takes generations for them to rebuild and get back to where they were previously. So you might ask yourself a question, what exactly changed? Now, it's not a single answer, but there have been several steps taken by the leadership in Rwanda under President Kagame to basically try and get back the country to its feet. Of course, this has taken discipline, long-term planning, accountability, and collective progress from the Rwandan people, and no wonder the country is where it is today. Now, what separates Rwanda from many other countries is its commitment to long-term planning. Now, in 2000, Rwanda came up with the Vision 2020. This vision was meant to transform the country to a middle-income kind of status. It is very important to note that for them, this was not a mere political slogan. There were measurable steps that were taken for them to finally achieve this vision that they had set themselves. Now, of course, in this, there was a lot of investment that was made towards roads and transport infrastructure, digital technology and internet connectivity, and then a lot of skills development in the country. They made sure they prioritized this, and most of the youths in the country got the right skills to be able to contribute to their country. And then, of course, they heavily invested in tourism and international branding. No wonder today we have big brands like PSG, a football club that plays in France, that basically wears the Visit Rwanda tagline, that basically contributes a lot to the Rwandan tourism. Of course, there are other football clubs like Atletico Madrid in Spain, and then recently they just signed a deal with Aston Villa, a club that plays in the English Premier League. So all this is meant to actually bring tourists into the country, and no wonder you hear a lot about Rwanda, because they've done their part. Now, the key takeaway from this is the fact that Rwanda is not planning for this generation alone. They are planning for the generations to come and leaders to come, not just a single leader that is in office today. Now, if there is one thing associated with most African countries, it is corruption. Most African countries are very corrupt, but when it comes to Rwanda, corruption has no place there. They have a zero tolerance policy towards corruption, and when it comes to most leaders that actually hold public office in Rwanda, they are mandated to declare their assets, and failure to do so, there's always a very severe punishment that comes along with that. So this basically makes Rwanda a corruption-free zone, and you cannot hold a public office and be corrupt or embezzle public funds as well. Now, as a result, Rwanda is consistently ranked as one of the least corrupt countries in Africa and in the world in general. No wonder so many investors would like to actually go invest in this particular country in the eastern part of the African continent. Now, I want you to imagine if all African countries did the same. I mean, try and imagine the number of hospitals that we would have on the continent, the good road infrastructure that we would have on the African continent, and the good education that our children would enjoy. But of course, because of corruption, we are still lagging behind, especially when it comes to most of the other African countries. When you visit Rwanda, the very first thing you will notice is the cleanliness. No wonder Kigali, the capital of the country, is often referred to as the cleanest city on the African continent. Now, this is not accidental. In 2008, Rwanda banned the use of plastic bags, and this was way before most developed countries considered a similar move. But if you're to look around the major cities in the other African countries, for example, if you went to Lagos, you will see these plastic bags everywhere, which of course are a very big danger when it comes to the environment. And then visit cities like Kampala, go to Nairobi, go to all the cities around the continent, you will find these plastic bags littered everywhere, which of course contributes negatively to the environment. Now, if you ask yourself why this is, of course, most of the companies that actually manufacture these plastic bags are owned by the top politicians in those countries. So, of course, it creates some kind of conflict of interest because you cannot cut off the hand that actually feeds you. So, there is no way they can pass such a policy that basically bans the use of these plastic bags. Now, the other thing that contributes to this cleanliness in Rwanda is the monthly community service day, which they call the Umuganda. Now, Umuganda is an activity that takes place on the last Saturday of the month, whereby all people in the communities come out and clean their community. No matter if you're a young person or if you're the elderly, you have and must take part in this cleaning. And of course, it has become part of Rwandan culture, whereby it is a symbol of collective responsibility that basically teaches the citizens that it's not only the government to actually make the change in their communities, but even the citizens themselves contribute to national development. So it's everyone's job to actually try and see Rwanda become a better country, starting right from their homes and communities. So I feel like this is a very good thing, and if all African countries actually embraced this, definitely we would have a much better community, we would have a much better continent. Today, if you speak about technology and innovation in Africa, Rwanda is one of the first countries that actually comes in these conversations, simply because they've invested heavily in technology, whereby most of the government services today can be accessed online. If you, let's say, want to register for a company, it can be done in just a few hours if you have all your paperwork. And then, of course, the other things they've heavily invested in are the partnerships with other global brands. Today, Rwanda actually produces and assembles cars because of the partnership that they made with VW, a German company. So today, Rwanda is able to produce cars for its local market and also export cars around the region and on the entire African continent. Reason being, they've created a conducive investment ground that basically allows or invites investors to come invest in their country. So if you speak technology, definitely Rwanda is one of the first countries you always think about when it comes to the African continent. Now, you might not know this, but Rwanda has one of the highest percentages of women in parliament. Today, as we speak, over 60% of the Rwandan parliamentarians are women, which of course provides a broader perspective when it comes to policy making. No wonder today there are more girls completing their education in Rwanda than it was previously. And then when it comes to women in business, there are more Rwandan businesses today that are owned by women than it was previously. And then of course, when you look at healthcare, Rwanda now has less women that die while giving birth. So definitely these women policymakers have really done good for their country. So maybe this is something more other African countries could emulate to actually have this broader perspective when it comes to policy making. Now, with all the good things that have been said about Rwanda, critics also argue that the government in Rwanda has shrunk the political space in a way that the opposition in the country cannot say anything significant when it comes to alternative policy. They say that there is no freedom of speech in the country, and of course others have come out to say that because of this strict governance, it's the reason Rwanda today is experiencing this stable growth that it has been on for over the last 20 years. So they say that this strict governance is what has helped Rwanda attain this development that it has been on for over 20 years now. But of course, I know that you have your own opinions about Rwanda, so I need you to get into the comments as we keep this conversation going. So head over there and let us know what you think about Rwanda. And maybe for more Pan-African content, I would recommend you check out this next video.